With almost 200 sets and 400 minifigures in the LEGO DC Comics theme, there are so many little details you can find. From the weird faceplates hiding under Batman's cowl, to the Vacation Batman minifigure having Nightwing's mask on his floaty. These are 25 small details you missed in LEGO DC Comics. Starting off with something you've probably never noticed. Every single Batman cowl has eye holes that show his forehead underneath. But here's the thing. In the comics, Batman's eyes are supposed to be white, right? So how does LEGO pull that off when the cowl has holes in it? Well, they print white headbands or goggles on the headpiece underneath that line up perfectly with the cowl's eye holes to create that white comic book eye effect. If you take the cowl off any Batman minifigure, you'll see this weird white band across his forehead, and suddenly it all makes sense. But speaking of Batman's cowl, there's another detail about it that you might not have noticed. The short-eared Batman cowl that came out in 2015 doesn't have a molded chin strap like the other versions did. Because of that, Batman's face has to be printed on a black headpiece that matches the cowl instead of a light nougat-colored one. And this actually makes his skin tone a lot darker than usual. It's not something LEGO meant to do, it's just a side effect of how they had to design the minifigure. But if you compared a short-eared Batman to a long-eared one, you can definitely see the difference. But now, let me show you something that's actually pretty funny. The Vacation Batman minifigure from the LEGO Batman movie series wears a rubber duck pool floaty, which is honestly hilarious by itself. But if you look closely at the duck's face, you'll see it has Nightwing's mask printed on it. This is a hidden Dick Grayson reference on Batman's vacation gear, and honestly, it's one of the funniest details LEGO's ever done. But not every detail in LEGO DC is intentional or clever. Sometimes LEGO just gets things wrong, and a perfect example is the Orca minifigure. Her headpiece has gills printed on it, which looks cool and all, but here's the problem. Orcs are mammals with lungs, not fish. They don't have gills. LEGO sacrificed biological accuracy for aesthetics, which I guess is fine for a toy, but it's still kind of funny that they made this mistake. But now, let's talk about the Batman animated series Gotham City set, because this thing is packed with details. The set has 15 removable panels on the buildings, and if you pull them off, you'll find tiny stickered tiles showing villains like Ventriloquist, Mad Hatter, Killer Croc, and Bane as Arkham inmates. You'd literally never see these unless you physically removed the panels, which most people probably won't even do. Speaking of hidden tiles, the Arkham Asylum set has a printed egg tile hidden behind the electrical junction box. This is a reference to Egghead, the egg-themed villain from the 1966 Batman TV show, who was played by Vincent Price. Now, Egghead is a super random character who most people have probably never heard of, so LEGO putting him in the set at all is pretty impressive. But the weird character references don't stop there. Hidden in the rafters of the roof are bottles of ketchup and mustard, which is a reference to Condiment King, the absurd villain who uses condiments as weapons. I'm not kidding, this is a real character. He literally shoots ketchup and mustard at people as his main form of attack. He's a running joke in the DC fanbase, so LEGO decided that he deserved a reference in the rafters, where nobody would ever look. I have no idea why they chose to include Condiment King of all villains, but I'm not complaining. It's one of the funniest hidden details in any LEGO DC set. And while we're in the attic, there's also a stickered crossword puzzle left behind by the Riddler. This makes perfect sense because the Riddler is obsessed with puzzles and riddles, so of course he'd be doing crosswords. Moving downstairs though, the security desk has a newspaper sitting on it, and at first it just looks like a random newspaper to fill space. But if you look closely at the headline, it says The Batman Returns. This is the iconic cover from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns #1 comic, which is one of the most famous Batman stories ever written. It completely changed how people saw the character back when it came out in 1986. It showed an older, more brutal Batman coming out of retirement, and it basically defined the modern interpretation of him. So LEGO referencing it in the Arkham Asylum set is a really nice nod to comic fans who know what they're looking at. But the comic references don't stop there. There's one sitting in the dumpster outside, but it's not just any comic. It's Batman number 9. Someone at Arkham Asylum threw out a comic that's worth like $200,000. I don't know who's in charge of taking out the trash at this place, but they need to be fired immediately. However, there's more to the dumpster than just this comic. Obviously, Arkham Asylum is extremely bad at keeping villains locked up. Like, it's literally impossible to know how many have broken out. But the reason they've been able to is hiding in this dumpster, or should I say behind it. If you pull it away from the wall, the door to every cell just magically opens. Now, obviously, this isn't the actual reason why, like it's not canon in DC, but it's LEGO's way of telling us that they know the asylum's reputation. But if we move to the outside of the set, there's still cool stuff you can find. The set comes with a patient transportation truck, which is used to take all the villains to the asylum. But if you look on top of it, you'll see the numbers 7785. And if you know LEGO, you know they love referencing themselves. This is actually the set number for the first Arkham Asylum set from 2006. Usually, LEGO puts stuff like this on the license plate of the car, but this time it's on top instead. One more thing about this set before we move on is that the fence outside has these brown colored pieces on the ground and sausage pieces to represent the fence being broken. At first glance, it just looks like debris or damage to the fence, but here's what's actually happening. Clayface just escaped through a pipe. You're not looking at random pieces or decoration. You're witnessing an active prison break. Clayface can morph his body into any shape, so of course he'd squeeze through a pipe to escape. Now, obviously, there are way more cool details in this set, but let's move away from it and talk about the 1966 TV series Batcave set, because this one is full of references to the classic show. First of all, there's a Shakespeare statue sitting on the desk, and at first it just looks like a decoration, but you can actually lift it up, and there's a button hidden underneath it. This is there to represent the button Bruce and Dick pressed to go down to the Batcave. In the show, a bookcase would slide over to reveal poles that they'd slide down, and LEGO recreated that too. Now, obviously, you can't really press the button in this set and make the bookcase slide over, but imagine if you could. That'd be really sick. Anyways, while we're in Wayne Manor, let me point out something that most people probably didn't even notice. The study has these special printed bricks with wallpaper patterns on them. Most LEGO sets just use solid colored bricks for walls and call it a day, or God forbid, a million stickers. But LEGO actually printed these intricate wallpaper designs to make Wayne Manor feel more luxurious and expensive. It's a really small detail, but it makes a huge difference in how the set feels. Moving on from Wayne Manor, let me show you one of the coolest features in the Batcave Clayface Invasion set. Just like the transformation chamber in the Batcave break-in set, there's one here too, but it works a little differently. You place Bruce Wayne on top of the tower and Batman inside the phone booth. Then you pull a pin and Bruce disappears while Batman appears at the bottom through a trap door mechanism. Instead of just swapping the minifigures yourself like you would with any other set, LEGO built an actual mechanism that shows the transformation happening, which is really cool. Speaking of cool features, the 1989 Batmobile has something hidden that you might not notice. 2 machine guns are tucked away in there, and when you rotate the turbine exhaust on the back of the car, they pop up automatically. This is accurate to the 1989 Batman movie, and the first time you do it, it's super satisfying. Pieces even pop off of the car, showing that the guns truly were hidden, which adds another layer of awesomeness. But there's something about this Batmobile that most people don't know, and it really shows how much effort LEGO put into this set. The wraparound windshield piece didn't exist before it came out. LEGO made an entirely new mold just to capture the car's distinctive look accurately. Making new molds is expensive and time-consuming. It's not something LEGO does all the time, so the fact that they were willing to go through all that effort for a single windshield piece shows how important they thought this set was. But of course, this isn't the only Batmobile set with a sick play feature, because the Pursuit of the Joker set has one too. One of the coolest things about this version of the Batmobile is that it shoots giant flames out of its exhaust, so LEGO made sure to put a fire piece on their version. But don't worry, this isn't the whole story. That flame piece is connected to the car's wheels, so when you move it, the piece rotates in circles. This was definitely the best way for LEGO to represent fire, and everyone was really happy to see it. Alright, now let's talk about the Batcave Shadow Box, because this set is absolutely showing off with its features. There's a Batsuit vault built into the cave wall that opens and closes from the back, revealing an alternate Batman costume inside. But here's what makes it special. there's a light brick placed directly above the Batsuit chamber. So when you open the vault and turn on the light, the interior lights up and you can see the costume perfectly. It's like a museum exhibit for Batman's suit. Another cool detail is that the Batcomputer shows Batman tracking villains on his screens. Right now, they're displaying the Penguin, but here's the cool part. You can change which villain is displayed by turning a knob on the back of the set. It doesn't just change the main monitor either. It changes every single one. Oh, and Batman's brick-built chair at the desk setup rotates too. There's another knob on the back that lets you turn it 360 degrees. Honestly, this play feature is kind of unnecessary, but it's really sick that LEGO did it anyway. But now, let me show you something in the 2022 Batcave set that's actually kind of genius. The set comes with a special magnifying glass piece, and scattered around the build are 4 elements with coded messages from the Riddler. They all have red, yellow, and blue printing. So when you hold the magnifying glass up, the red tint basically cancels out the warm colors and lets you see the secret message in blue. The first one is on the left side of the Batcomputer, and it's a picture of the Batarang. But the next 3 are all tile pieces scattered throughout the set. The first one says, "To the Batman." The second one is a picture of the Riddler's face in minifigure form. And the third one is the Riddler's logo from the Batman from 2022. Now, obviously, you could figure out what these messages are without the magnifying glass. But this is a really cool play feature that I've never actually seen in LEGO before. And literally everyone who built this set loved it, so it was definitely a good move. Switching gears though, this next detail may be in a Batman set, but it's actually a reference to something from a LEGO branded theme. The Joker Manor set comes with an area where Batman watches romance movies, and one of them is a movie called Forever Sorting 2. Now, obviously this movie is a sequel, but where can you find the original? Well, it was actually playing at the Palace Cinema set way back in 2013. The set the sequel is in came out a whole 4 years after the Palace Cinema set, so it was a really deep cut reference that a lot of people probably didn't even know about. But to end the video, we're gonna talk about a detail in a set that isn't even out yet, and people are already arguing about what it's referencing, and it's all over one singular piece. The set I'm talking about is the Batman logo, which comes out in March of this year. It's a display piece meant to honor the 20th anniversary of the original LEGO Batman theme, which got its first official set in 2006. Now, the main part of this set is obviously the logo, but if you look closely, you'll notice that it's absolutely loaded with pieces that are references to a bunch of different characters. There are batarangs for Batman, whips for Catwoman, a bowl hat for the Riddler, but one of the pieces that's here is a crowbar, and this is the piece that's causing so much commotion. Most people think this is here to represent the Riddler's cane, since he came with this exact piece in a different color in the Arkham Asylum set last year. But Ash and Flash actually brought up a great point. He said that it might be referencing one of the biggest deaths in the comics, when the Joker beats Red Hood to death with a crowbar. Now, obviously, this would be a really dark reference, especially since LEGO made this set for kids as young as 12. But truly, it could go either way. Which one do you think it is? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.